thrilled to have back here on the program. As I mentioned, going to break, I believe the last time you were here was for Ford versus Ferrari, which was just fantastic. Love that movie. And now Long, Slow Exhale will premiere exclusively on Spectrum Monday, next week, April 4th. Good to see you, Josh Lucas. How are you, sir?
Rich, very happy to be back. I really like your show.
Thank you for saying that. And I love all of your work. So I'll just call it a knock on wood mutual admiration society right here. So this program is about a women's basketball program. You're playing an athletic director, okay? And it's a fascinating plot involving a big time spoiler potentially.
You know, the show's interesting, man. It comes from so the woman Pam Vesey, who's a straight up older black female, who's one of the legendary showrunners in Hollywood, one of the first who was a black woman to do it.
Right.
Had two kids who were driving towards the NFL draft, and I mean, meaning that they spent their life working towards that. And when the Duke lacrosse scandal happened, she was so struck by it, and so she said, what would happen if my boys in college, I think they were in high school at the time, came home and they both looked at me and said, Mom, we did not do this. And she said, as a woman, as a mom, as someone who knows what their careers, I think, are going to be in terms of, professional sports, how would I respond? And so she really, mused on it and took it and turned it into what this show is, which is she shifted it to a women's basketball team, and the dynamics of it really shifted. But what she was struck by, and partly the reason why I'm here, is because one of the first people, if you remember, who went down in the Duke lacrosse scandal was the athletic director, who had nothing to do with it. But that's
in charge, exactly. In charge, and
exactly.
And you play again an athletic director in Long, Slow Exhale, premiering exclusively again on Spectrum, available on demand, free without ads, I should mention, Monday next week, April 4th, 12-episode series, 3 episodes dropping each week for 4 consecutive weeks. Josh Lucas here on the Rich Eisen Show. So this is essentially born out of that real life.
It is absolutely born out of that real life story, and that she, obviously needed to shift it for all sorts of reasons. And as the political landscape and the Me Too movement was happening and all the different things that were happening, so the show is really hitting on all sorts of areas, right? I mean, everything from championship basketball and the joy of that, and the responsibility and issues that coaches have with young women, and then add a sex scandal and add the pressures of a national championship for a team that comes kind of out of nowhere, and what that does to the school. And it's got a lot of things, a lot of moving parts.
And so, starring you, Josh Lucas, Rose Rollins, who's terrific, Famke Janssen, who folks know for many, many great movies.
Absolutely.
And also Tony Gonzalez. It
Absolutely.
is that Tony Gonzalez,
it is
correct?
That Tony Gonzalez, who
Hall of Famer Tony Gonzalez
was a force to walk on the set and does a really nice job.
Yeah, he's it's too bad he doesn't have a face for this sort of thing.
He's got a movie star face. Definitely.
You think? That had to be cool, right? I mean, see Tony Gonzalez walking on a set.
It was cool.
Pick his brain a little bit.
He was. If there was someone who walked on with a lot of extras, it was one of the first scenes we shot, actually, where everyone really bubbled. But,
right.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I really enjoyed your conversation with Sam Farmer today.
Terrific.
I have a little boy who, I told Sam this. My son is 9 years old, and I genuinely will wake up in the morning and he's already awake and he's listening to the Seahawks, Locked On Seahawks podcast, and he's talking to me, at 6 o'clock in the morning as we drive to school about what what draft picks or what draft class is going to happen with the quarterbacks and all the different things, and he. That conversation was so interesting to me because he called me genuinely both excited, almost in tears when Brady unretired, and then, with what's going on with all of this. And the Seahawks and the Russell Wilson thing has made him, he's agitated.
That's what I was about to say. I was going to ask you, Josh, is whose job is it? Is it your job to explain to a 9-year-old why Russell Wilson has to go or why he felt he needed to go?
Well, I'm going to tell you what's interesting is that he's explaining it to me. I mean, truly,
that.
This guy knows, my little boy knows, why, and yet he was very troubled by it, and he was confused. Like, why did the coach say what he said beforehand? And I was like, that's part of the politics, and that's the stuff he wants to try and break down. But we truly listened to the podcasts about the Seahawks and about the NFL and your show, Driving to School, and he knows his stuff. He says at this point in his life he's going to play professional soccer, then retire in his late 20s and become a general manager for the Seahawks and volunteer for the job so that they can use the money they would save because he's a volunteer, because he's made so much playing soccer.
Yes.
That they can use that for the salary.
Okay, so here's a few things.
I love the way he
Here's a
thinks.
few things. Here's a few things. First of all, I'm relieved to hear he's coming for John Schneider's job, not mine. That's number one. Okay, because it sounds like he would be ready to sit in a seat like this one. Two, he is aware though that the Allen family owns the Seahawks, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So then well, it's like saving an ounce of water out of the ocean. You know what I mean?
Well,
but
he still thinks they'll be able to use the money to get better players. Yeah. I was like, I don't know that the administrative jobs are going to be able to be worked into the salary cap, and he has an idea that that's what he's going to do.
And plus, you know what? I mean, we have to connect because I'd love to talk to him. Secondly, if he wants to ever call in and give his opinions on the Seahawks, I love having kids talk about this sort of stuff. Because not only do they know, but out of the mouths of babes comes material that you won't expect. And then on top of it, I mean, the Seahawks fans, the day that Russell Wilson got traded and Bobby Wagner gets cut was truly one of the most difficult days for any Seahawks fan. 9, 19, 29, 90, like it doesn't matter what age you are.
It was shaking. Yeah, it was. Look, I am developing, I'm not pushing this development inside of him, but it's truly to see a kid who's got this level of passion, and I understand why. I mean, truly, the NFL right now is the most powerful force in entertainment on earth, and whatever they're doing, and I spoke to your guest Sam about this this morning in your waiting room, your lovely waiting room.
Thank you, sir.
Why? And it's because whatever Roger Goodell is doing in terms of the Rubik's Cube of how he's moving it, to push it and change it and shift it. And Sam said something interesting. He said, Roger Goodell's brilliance is partly in the idea that they're never saying, oh, well, the thing we did on April 1st last year, we're going to do again this year.
Right.
He said, he said success is a problem, and that whatever is happening within the NFL, dislike it, love it, whatever you want, it's the greatest entertainment maybe we've seen in our lifetime.
Well, I can personally attest that the commissioner, when he first took the job, looked at everything that the NFL had been doing and saying, well, how can we improve it or change it or whatever? That there are no sacred cows. There really are not. And so the draft went from a 2-day weekend event in New York to a 2-night, 3-day event that now travels the country. That's just a perfect example of how things have completely changed. But the NFL is the greatest narrative generating machine ever, and maybe even in entertainment, where it is the ultimate reality show.
Exactly. And we saw that with the Super Bowl, right? I mean,
oh sure. Yeah. And the stage. I mean, that stadium is
it's
insane.
It's extraordinary.
It's truly one of the most. How did your 9-year-old take the visual and audio assault that stadium? And I shouldn't use that word. Well, but it is quite something. That Oculus that hangs from the ceiling of SoFi, is.
That was a big experience for him and I, and it's something that I can tell you I learned from that day, because I know this kid's passion for football is so extreme.
Father-son Super Bowl outing.
That I said, you know what, I'm going to see if I can pull some strings and get tickets, and I was not able to. But I then decided, all right, man, bite the bullet and pay for some tickets, right?
Wow.
Which I'm the sort of
guy.
That's
quite a bullet.
Look, I'm the guy who doesn't do that in my life. I think any. If I have a hard time spending money that I think is frivolous, right? I really do, and it's maybe you could say a weakness or a strength of mine. So, but I knew this kid's passion was so extreme, and I kept looking at tickets, and I kept going, and I kept going, and kept going, and so we went to the NFL Experience on Saturday.
Yeah.
And while we were at the NFL Experience, I kept clicking on the refresh button, and suddenly these tickets came up that were, frankly, not crazy expensive.
Right.
And I bought them, and we arrived the next morning when the stadium opened. We were waiting outside when the stadium opened. We went in, and it was one of the best days of my life. And I tell you, I walked away from the experience with my son and driving home, and I thought, I want to do more of this in my life. I want not spend money frivolously, but like you work hard, and I want to give this kid and me and him and the experience of enjoying our life partly is what it is. But it was, I mean, look, it was beyond a beautiful experience for him and I that he will remember for the rest of his life, and as will I.
Josh Lucas here on the Rich Eisen Show. Long, Slow, Exhale, available exclusively. It will premiere on Spectrum starting Monday of next week, April 4th. We have a couple of items from your filmography and your work that also has generated a couple of stories that we want to know are true or false. If you don't mind, a little celebrity true or false. We have some production value first. Go ahead and hit it. Go ahead.
Celebrity true or false?
You can't handle the truth.
There we go. That's just our way to set up true or false. Celebrity true or false with Josh Lucas. Okay, first up, sir. During filming of Sweet Home Alabama, your character's plane illegally landed on Peachtree Lake, and the production company got a $300 ticket because of it. Is that true or false?
I think that's true. And the weird thing is I know a girl who I was maybe trying to date recently who sent me a photograph of her new boyfriend and her who he owns that plane. So I was like, wow, you upgraded, huh? Or I guess
so.
Yeah.
Okay. So
is it true?
I don't. This is what. I don't know. We're asking you.
I'm pretty sure it's true.
That it illegally landed in the lake.
Absolutely.
And they're like, screw it. That we're trying to get all these productions here in Georgia, but
$300.
It's $300. That's what it is.
Disney can handle this.
So now I got to follow up. So okay. So you know a young lady who you reached out to with certain intentions. And she know her current boyfriend. She's not only occupied, but the guy owns the plane.
So we went. She lived somewhere else, and the horrific world of internet dating, which I'm a part of these days. We went back and forth and didn't ever able to connect because she lived somewhere else, and we just never did. But we kept in contact. I liked her a lot, and I kind of lost track of her. And all of a sudden, she sends me this photograph and says, "Listen, I'm dating this guy, and I really like, but he owns the plane." And sends me a photograph of the two of them standing in front of the plane, and I had mixed feelings about it.
Of course you did.
I really did. I was like, all right, well, yeah.
Damn!
Wow.
I don't even how
he had a lot of plans,
write,
by the way.
You can't write. You can't make that up.
He had a hanger.
I'm like, now,
one of those dudes.
Now we
can't
got
compete with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does one get the plane from Sweet Home Alabama?
It's a cool plane.
It is. I bet that can land illegally on Peachtree Lake. Okay. Allegedly, reportedly. All right, next one. True or false, Josh Lucas? You gained 43 pounds to play the role of Don Haskins in Glory Road. Is that true or false?
Haskins said to me almost on day one, look at that. That's a bit thicker than I am right now.
Okay,
he said to me, son, they called me the fat man. You better start drinking beer. And, I was in pretty decent shape when we began. I actually think it's something that Jerry Bruckheimer did not like about the way that I played Haskins, because I think Haskins would have preferred I went a lot further, and they would have preferred I stayed, movie star handsome.
Right.
So I tried to cut it between the middle, which is kind of what the whole movie was, actually. That movie is so I love that movie. Right. But there is a rated hard R version of the Don Haskins story, and we made the Disney version, and that's what Don Haskins wanted.
He wanted the R?
He wanted the
Disney.
He wanted the Disney version. And I respect that entirely, and I believe in that version entirely.
Well, it's a beautiful movie. It's a great movie.
Wonderful movie.
I mean, come on.
But his players, I don't think I've told this story ever before. I sure don't think I told it on this show.
Okay.
One of the hardest moments I would say in my whole career was after an early screening of Sweet Home Alabama, where I had been a part of a number of screenings where it gotten standing ovations, which I'd never seen for any movie before or since that I've been a part of, or any movie for that matter. But we went to El Paso and we showed it to the original team. And
Glory Road, you're talking
Glory
about.
Road.
Okay, yeah.
So we showed it to the original players who are now, older than me, and we all got into an elevator afterwards, and I expected that they were all going to be all celebratory and happy, and frankly, they were not. they looked at me and they shunned me at first because they felt like I had not captured the vicious intensity of Don Haskins. And I think I made a choice with Don that was kind of purposeful. It's a Disney movie, and to make it more accessible, that Haskins, if people know, in some ways out Bobby Knight in terms of his toughness. And because of it, his players love him in a way that is like the greatest father they've ever had, or not ever father figure they've ever had.
Right.
And they shifted gears, though. That's one thing, not to bring it around, but they shifted gears, and they really, I think, understood. Partly Haskins told them. He said,
commercialization.
Yeah, it's a Disney
film.
movie.
Sure, right.
It's a Disney movie. But there is another version of that movie and that story, which is, Haskins in the Bobby Knight, phase of his, what he really was in that way. So I throw that out there.
Wow. So hopefully that elevator ride, you get off on the second floor only?
I was shook by it.
I bet.
Because I had thought that they were all going to be like, it's amazing. And they had to process
it. They had to process it, it seems like, huh?
Well, Haskins, they played, as you know about some of these coaches, kind of out of fear of Haskins. And they played at a level that he pushed them, and that's what I think the greatest coaches do. And he was young and a different phase of his career than he was later. He was hungrier and angrier, and so yeah.
Huh. So, last time, what happened last time?
Yeah, Josh, last time you were here a couple of years ago, you told us about getting yelled at by Pat Riley.
Well, again, what Bruckheimer does that I give so much respect for to the way he makes movies is he gives incredible resources to, make it as entertaining as possible, but as authentic as possible. So my coaches on that, my technical advisors who I had with me every day were Tim Floyd, Don Haskins, and Pat Riley. And they would rotate a little bit. Haskins was the most lovely and gentle of the group. We'd go drink tequila and talk and have a nice time together. But Pat Riley and Tim Floyd were on me in the way that a coach is on a player. And I had to sometimes say, guys, I'm acting, I'm not coaching. Get off my back. And it was a fascinating experience. And Bruckheimer really pushes those people. Bruckheimer's very good friends with Pat Riley. Pat Riley gave me the best piece of advice of my life. Get a physical every year, a serious physical every year from the time you're 30, and you will be able to stay in a healthier shape because of it. I'm about to go get mine. So, but I have nothing but respect for them in that experience. It was also so interesting how different, just like directors in movies, how different coaches can be with the same results, right? You were talking about Arians and how Arians is, or I was talking to Sam about Arians, and Arians, what is going on between Arians and Brady, right? And he said possibly it's Arians is kind of a laid back dude. But then it's like, yeah, but he's talking about cussing
people out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's it's really interesting.
Yeah, coach-player dynamic.
Yeah.
Third item on Celebrity True or False with you, Josh Lucas, is from the same movie. Is it true Don Haskins made a cameo as a gas station attendant?
He does. He absolutely does. Yeah.
If
you could find it. There's got to be a photo somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have the rights to use that, but there's Don. So he did play a gas station attendant?
Yep.
Did he ask to do that, or who asked him to do that? You don't know?
He was excited to do it, definitely. And he was, kind of wonderfully mean during it.
That's maybe where his players go, oh, we know that gas station attendant. All right, last one for you, Celebrity True or False, is the cars used in Ford versus Ferrari were all real. None of them were CGI.
Ooh, absolutely true. There's very little CGI in that movie. It was extraordinary to make because of it. James Mangold, the director of that movie, does this really interesting thing where even when the cars were off camera, he would still drive them by the shots at speed in order to give the actors the sense of the sound and the intensity and the wind and all of it. And it was really helpful. But yeah, and I do like the fact that you mentioned Tracy Letts earlier because he's one of my favorite people I ever worked with.
I mean, Incredible. I don't know if you're watching any of the Winning Time on HBO right now.
I started it. I like it a lot.
It's a heck of a lot of fun. He's going to show up around episode 3, or I think it's episode 3, as the would-be coach of Jerry Buss's would-be first coach, and I just love everything that he's in. He was fantastic in Ford versus Ferrari. It does look like when he was given that ride as the executive, when he was given that ride.
I don't think he acted much.
I don't think, no, like he was literally blown away by the speed and the G4, whatever,
G-forces,
exactly. Like it definitely
it's like being in a fighter jet, truly. You get, I think 5 Gs is what you'll get up to in terms of when they're really turning and all that. And they had this amazing machine called a biscuit, which is they took the actual cars and they basically put another extraordinary car that is attached to it, that the driver can be on top of in that case, the old Shelbys, or they can be on the side of it, and they can have the cameras there and everything, but they were driving at speed. It was really interesting. In fact, I just the other day was sitting up where I live and talking with my mom and sister at a restaurant. This guy comes up to me and said, "Hey, you're Josh, right? We worked together on Ford versus Ferrari," and he was Derek Hill. His father was one of the great race car drivers of all time. It won the F1 Hill, and he was the guy doing some of the driving in that movie. So they had this really cool thing where they used a lot of the kids of the actual drivers from that period playing their parents. Wow. Yeah. Authenticity
so cool.
was
movie's great, man.
That movie
was really one of my favorite movies.
I so agree with you.
It was so terrific, and I loved it. You were great in that. Everyone was great in it, and I think just to bring it all full circle, we do have the Don Haskins. There he is.
Yeah.
Look at him filling up the car. Look at him filling up your car.
Look how much I look just like him. He's funny. He was funnier than me. He was a great, irascible, wonderful dude.
And Josh, was it Phil Hill? Was the driver
exactly.
you think? Okay.
Yep.
Phil Hill. That's Celebrity True or False with Josh Lucas. Long Slow Exhale, premiering exclusively on Spectrum again, starting next week, Monday, April 4th. Anytime. And tell your son, like, if he wants to chime in on any Seahawks, like, I love it. When I look down at the phone line and I see
truly going to take you up on that,
and I hear a kid's voice coming, I love it. I can't get enough of it.
What I would ask if we do end up doing this, and I do think, is disagree with him. He's really opinionated, and I don't have enough knowledge to back up a disagreement with him.
Oh no,
but
I'll teach him the ropes.
He'll get angry about stuff that I'm like, what are you talking about?
Like
literally, he's angry at the GM of the Seahawks right now for many different choices.
All right, so let's have him call in.
He's also angry at Russell Wilson.
Oh,
definitely have him call in.
Yes,
let's do this.
Very angry at
All
Russell
right, we'll
Wilson.
give you the special hotline number. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.